All right, do continue to stay on with this, Professor Lucas. Meanwhile, there are some breaking inputs that have just come in where the Bazan group has now said that as a result of the Iranian strike on its oil refinery in the Haifa Bay, all its facilities have been shut down and about 3 people reportedly have been killed in an Iranian missile strike on the refinery overnight. Bazan has further said that it is working with the Israel Electric Company to try resume electric supplies to the facility. The facility is home to a distinctive cooling tower that looms over the densely populated Haifa Bay and has for years been threatened with attack by Israel's adversaries, including the Iranian proxy Hezbollah. It has never been known to have suffered a direct hit in the past. This, of course, is the latest bit of information that has come in from Haifa, where 3 people have been killed because of the Iranian strike, and the Bazan group has said that the Iranian strike on its oil refinery in the Haifa Bay has resulted in all its facilities getting shut down. Professor Lucas, we were talking a little bit about, the kind of damage the Iranians have been able to inflict on the Israelis. In the past, the Israelis had been fighting with the Iranian proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas. The Houthis, to a certain extent, had been firing these missiles, one-off missiles, on and off. But their capabilities are nothing compared to what the Iranians have been able to bring to the field. And although the Israelis technologically have better weapons and are backed by the United States of America, if in the event that the United States, for whatever reason, chooses not to get involved in this fight, because what is interesting to note is that it is the 4th day and the 5th night of these attacks, and the Americans have so far not gotten involved directly in counterattacking the Iranians. How long do you think this kind of a, if one could put it this way, the military muscle arm wrestling between the Iranians and Israelis could go on if the Americans don't get involved?
No, it's a good question. Let me link also your report on Haifa that took place, because it's a question of, is Israel vulnerable? We actually knew of those 3 deaths earlier today in Haifa, because the Haifa mayor said 3 people had been killed. He did not refer to the specific facility, this oil refinery you're talking about, but he said it's a facility that some of us wish wasn't here. In other words, they knew that this refinery was vulnerable, and they knew it could expose the city to attack. So that raises that point you've made, which is, if this is a protracted conflict, and if the Iranians had the capability to hit these facilities on a regular basis, it might cause some discontent. But, and here's where I have to emphasize but, the Netanyahu government, specifically the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, are not just trying to get rid of Iran's nuclear program, which is the stated aim of the attacks. They are going in for the kill because they want to get rid of the Iranian leadership.
Right.
They actually would want to assassinate that leadership, but they're not talking about regime change, but they're talking about the country being so dissolved and so broken down that people would get tired of the leadership and rise up, or that the entire country would just simply fall apart and not function. So no, they're not going to stop, even though the Americans aren't joining them in the attacks. The Israelis, or at least the Netanyahu government, when they made this decision to go in, they're thinking, if it goes weeks, it goes months. That's what we're going for. Because if I can add one point.
Very quickly, yep.
Benjamin Netanyahu cannot afford to end the war in Gaza, because if he has not, quote, destroyed Hamas, he'll be blamed, including by families of the hostages. If he goes into Iran and he doesn't get rid of the Iranian leadership, he doesn't defeat them, he'll be blamed, because the day that this ends without total victory, he'll be vulnerable to early elections and to trial on bribery charges. That's why he doesn't stop.
Interesting. Those are some very important points that you've made. Do continue to stay on with this. We'll talk more about